So this is how I wired up my Haltec harness. First off, I have HP tuners and an LS swapped Canyon, an 06. So I want to be able to not have to unplug the OBD2 port every single time. So what I did is I bought a Y splitter. Now, here's the catch-22 about these. If you plug in two devices at once, it will only use one. But there's a trick you can do. Pin 16 that comes in through here is your power. If you clip that wire and run a single pole dual throw on and on switch, okay? This is the switch, okay? So what you do is you run the power from your OBD2 port into the center pin, and then each OBD2 port takes one of these pins. So you can turn on your left OBD2 port or your right one. That way only one is only used at one time. And so like I have the other OBD2 port and I extended the wires, and it's on the passenger side underneath the glove box with my USB port for a wideband, and that wideband goes into HP tuners, like into my laptop. So what I did is the left side, I used to have this like little reader or whatever, and it was trash. It started making this weird noise, but once you have that connected, you also want to make sure that pin 16 on your OBD2 port is ran from the ignition switch. That way you have to turn the key on in order to activate them. That way if the key's off, this circuit's dead, you know? That way you don't have to worry about power going to the OBD2 ports when the key is off. But as soon as you turn it on, you can switch between left and right. That way if you leave a device on the OBD2 port and it's, you know, if it's always on, the device is just going to stay on. This is what I did. Sorry for the cat. So I went ahead and took this, and this is the Haltec device that goes in through their little DT connector. I went ahead and this wire right here, I broke this apart, wired it back to pin 16. I won't have to wire this through an ignition switch because my OBD2 port is now connected to an ignition switch. I had to do some voodoo. My GM has a body control module that controls a lot of stuff like my high beams. So I had to enact a 3-pin relay because on the high beams, the BCM, when you turn them on, all it does is activate the ground, and the Haltec wants a positive. So if you think about that, the high beams always have a positive. If I just hook it up there, it's going to think the high beams are always on. So what I did this is a 3-pin relay, okay? Now, I went ahead and wired this to where basically it's getting power from the cluster all the time. The fog lights go ahead and hit the switch on pin 3. That activates and lets the cluster power go right to the high beam circuit, like in the Haltec, not to the high beams themselves, but basically pin 1 is cluster power, pin 3 is the ground trigger from the high beams, and pin 2 is going to the input port of the Haltec for the high beam signal. And this is the super seal connector to a GT150 weather pack that I wired up. So this is going to be the vehicle side. The only thing I really have to hook up, because, you know, now it's going to be powered and grounded by the OBD2 port, is like high beams, parking lights, power to the cluster for, you know, this piece right here. But yeah, you can get these on Amazon or eBay. They're GT150 8-pin connectors. You can get them in all types of sorts of sizes. But this is a cleaner setup, because then I can just take this, plug this in here. This goes in through here. That way, if I ever need to take it out for the winter, you know, when I store it, the circuit will be perfect. But that will go to the other portion of the Haltec, or to that, sorry. That will plug into here. But if you ever run into a scenario to where, like, you always have power to a circuit and you're trying to get an indicator to work and all you have is a ground trigger, you can use a 4-pin relay. All you have to do is apply the power to both the top pins. That way it's energized. I used a 3-pin relay. It's just less wiring, looks cleaner. You can get them from O'Reilly's. I can't remember what I did with the box, but they're like horn relays for like 95 Chevy Astro vans. So I'll put it in the comments what the part number is for the 3-pin relay. But just remember, pin 1 is going to be cluster power, or like a power source of some sort. It can be always on. It doesn't really matter, because that's not what's going to control the circuit. What's going to control the circuit is like your BCM is sending a negative signal to like a light or something, and that is what's going to activate the magneto and close the circuit and apply power through this to what you need to, you know, like to an indicator. Sometimes you have to do some wiring voodoo like this, and it's just the way it goes. But literally, if you need a rocker switch like that to go back and forth to HP tuners, just understand that, you know, when you go to turn on the tuning device for your laptop, it will shut the cluster off, and you have to use the laptop to tune the vehicle, and the cluster will be off. So, but I have like aftermarket oil gauges for oil pressure and all that. But I mean, HP tuners, you can just pull up the PID and you can monitor it right on HP tuners. And then daily driving the vehicle, you can turn the cluster on, because you're not going to, daily driving, you're not, I mean, unless you're tuning, I mean, you don't really need it. But that's how I did it. So once I wired this to the car, I just plug that in there. This will go to the Haltec. This will plug into here. And that will go in the OBD2 port. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope it helps you.